Ladies and gentlemen, Avry Sports Show, we're back, and once again, one of our great guests, one of the better guests we've had in Avry Sports Show history, one of the better hecklers of what I do, the head coach of the St.Charles Chill in the Central Hockey League, and former NHL defenseman with numerous teams, Jamie Rivers. Jamie, how are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing good, buddy. It's always a pleasure. Whenever you call me, I'm very excited.
I know you are. You're either very positive, you're coaching, or you have a joke to crack on me, or a joke to crack on Jason Strudwick. You know, you're a very fun dude.
I stay busy. If I can't stay busy on the ice, I figure I'm just going to chirp everyone around me.
Exactly, as you should. You know, I mentioned the old fart Strudwick. I mean, when I told you was on Battle of the Blades, figure skating, is that something that you would do one day, Jamie? Would you try and go on that show?
Well, you know what? I thought Strud was going on that show to learn how to skate. That's what I thought, because I remember playing with him, and it was a battle. He used to push a chair around at practice so he didn't fall down. Then to see him out there doing all this fancy stuff, I was like, oh my gosh. But no, you know, I guess if Battle of the Blades called me, I'd have to think about it, because you know me, I like to have a good time, and I think it would be kind of fun and funny to do all that at the same time. And I laugh at myself as much as anybody laughs at me, so I'm good with it.
No, of course, you're a very animated guy on Twitter, as we all know, and I know the funniest thing was I saw you're cracking jokes on Jason's hairpiece, because the fact that he was doing jumps and all that, and his hair didn't move, I don't know what he used. Like, I don't know if he used crazy glue or something to make sure his hair didn't fly off on national TV.
Well, it's similar to Lego hair, where you just snap it on the head, and it doesn't actually move until you can snap it off the head after. So I know that Stuart was talking about shaving his head at one point, and I tried to help him out and just said, all you got to do is take off the double stick tape on that rug you're wearing. Don't worry about shaving it.
Oh my gosh, that's too funny. I wish I had a time machine to watch you two interact when you guys played together in the American Hockey League. I'm sure that was some good times.
We had a blast. We honestly did. We had so much fun. That's where he earned the nickname the Night Train. We had a lot of fun. You know, we had a good group of guys, and I remember, gosh, you know, when you're young, you do some funny, silly stuff. And I remember one weekend we were talking about getting into fights, and we made a bet we were to get in the first fight first. With the other guy had to buy him his beers at the bar later on that night. I remember, like, first shift of the game, some guy stopped in front of our net, and I just dropped the mitts and started pounding on him. I was like, well, I give him my beer for free tonight. I was like, that's not fair. It's first shift of the game.
Oh, that's funny, man.
Oh, yeah. Well, back then, you know, beer was a premium thing to have. So, you know, back then I was like, wow, you have to get your tab paid for, especially by Strud, because although he's a huge man, he was born with extremely short arms that don't reach your pockets when he can to pay the bill.
Wow! I wonder how he's going to react hearing that.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm hard on Strud, but it's only because he can take it. I love the guy.
Of course, he's a very funny dude. Of course, he can take you very much. So I know, Jamie, honestly, it's been quite the eventful past few years for you, sir. I know we discussed you coaching with St. Charles. Your first year is done, and I mean, what was it like for you? I know it wasn't the best year. Of course, expansion teams really do have success. But I mean, now that your first year is done, what is it like saying, you know, you've experienced a full year of being a professional hockey coach, Jamie?
Well, I'll tell you what. It was an unbelievable amount of learning on the fly. Especially, we set a CHL Central Hockey League record for man games lost. At 247 man games lost for injuries this year. It was... I mean, every time I turned around, I was almost afraid to play a game because we were going to have injuries. And I ran out of IR spots. I couldn't even put anybody there, so we had to play short. And I remember one game we were playing with like 13 guys. It was a battle. But, you know, I learned a lot about coaching. I learned a lot about as far as motivating players and the do's and don'ts in trying to get things going. And obviously, for me, you know, your first year, you're trying to set a precedent for the future years to come. And, you know, although I like to have a good time and all that stuff, whenever I played and so on, I always gave it everything I had. And, you know, that's what I expect from the players. You don't always have to be the best player on the ice, but you better leave it all out there. And at the end of the game, be able to look at yourself in the mirror. And, you I went through a couple of players this year that, quite honestly, hockey wasn't their number one priority. And they were great players, talented players, but they were in it for, to score a couple of goals and go have a couple of, frosty beers after the game, which I'm fine with, but not if we're losing and you're on the ice for -4 and you're not blocking shots or you're not finishing your hits or not picking up your guy on the back check. For me, it's always been about having a good team and teammates having each other's backs in all situations, and it was good for me. I learned to pick those guys out of the crowd in a hurry and try to get some turnover.
No, of course. I know one thing for you, J-Man. What would you say was more nerve-wracking? Your first game as a head coach when you made your NHL debut back in the mid-90s?
Oh, my gosh. Well, coaching for sure. I was so young and dumb back when I made my first NHL appearance. I wasn't even nervous. I thought, well, shoot, in my head, I was like, well, I belong here. I mean, when you're young, you have that carefree attitude that it's almost like you're untainted at that point. And I was excited for my first game. I wasn't nervous at all. I mean, I remember wanting to be on the power play and all that stuff. All stuff that's crazy to think of when I progressed in my career later on. When I look back, I'm like, gosh, I'm battling to play 10 minutes now. And at that point, I was like expecting to play 15 to 20, and it's probably the best way to do it. I think that nowadays the younger players are given a longer leash to get out there and play their style of game and to have their they get to be their own personality. A lot of these guys, and it helps them. Because then they don't have to watch what they do, watch what they say, watch how they play, and they get to get out there and let loose. And a lot of these young guys are having a lot of success because they're getting to be who they really are.
No, exactly. No, that's very true. I know you mentioned your first season. I mean, we talked about it before. I've seen the roster of St. Louis back then. I mean, you had Wayne Gretzky, Brett Hull, Al McInnes, Chris Pronger, Craig McTavish. I mean, you came into the league on a team that was probably a team in 95-96 that should have won the cup if Grant Fuhr didn't get hurt.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. That year, we lost Jersey against Toronto. Good old Nick Kiprios decided to fall on him, and Jersey's knee blew out. And, we got some strong performances from John Casey after, but we just didn't have the consistency out of it. But, Casey battled hard. He really did. He battled his butt off. And then, I think we've all seen that Steve Yzerman goal where he comes in across the blue line and fires that rocket clapper just under the bar in double overtime. And that sealed our fate. When I really thought that we had the team that year to go all the way, and we certainly had the horses to do it. If we got a little bit of luck at all against Detroit in that series and we win, I remember Shane Corson hit the post on a wide open net not too long before that. And if we ended there, I think we'd go all the way to the cup and at least compete that year.
No, I think Maine do agree with that statement, Jamie. I know back to the present day, I know during the NHL lockout, you were heavily involved in helping out the lockout St. Louis Blues players and coaching. I know players spoke glowingly of you, of what you did. How much do you think that prepared you for what it took to be a head coach with a professional team? Even though it's at the Central Hockey League level, it's still pro hockey, Jamie.
Yeah, that was my biggest struggle, was being that, and take this the right way, is being at a high level for a long period of time in the NHL, and then dropping down, 2 levels to a lower league. You end up with 2 categories of players, where you got the young up-and-comers that are hungry, you got some old veterans that are hungry and they still play hard, and you got guys that are kind of on their way out and they don't play as hard, and their give-a-crap meter isn't as high. And that was hard for me. I had a hard time with that because I was used to dealing with NHL guys or even American Hockey League guys where everybody every day is competing to get better and wanting to be the best at their position. So that was hard for me. I found myself struggling with that and pulling my hair out some days where I've only got about 7 or 8 hairs left now. So that was the biggest adjustment for me at that point. But working with the NHL guys was an unbelievable privilege to have. And I really thank Coach Hitchcock for giving me the opportunity, him and Doug Armstrong, to get down there and work with the guys. And, obviously after playing for as long as I did, I had a good comfort level anyways with some of these guys. But that really helped me, and it really taught me how to run a practice, where to keep the pace high but not too deadly, where guys are dying out there.
No, of course, I imagine as you did, Jamie. I know being in the Central Hockey League, of course, it's not the NHL, it's not the American League where you are on luxury buses or luxury planes or staying in the great hotels. I mean, I saw pictures that you took on Twitter. I mean, you guys are staying in like I don't even know if it was like Motel 6, like Motel 4, Motel 3. I mean, what was that like being back on a bus traveling across North America for games?
Well, you know what? It's good. I think it's good. I think it's making it to the NHL as a player, like I said earlier, is a privilege. And I think the same should be said about even starting as coaching at different levels. It's a privilege to get to the NHL or some of those higher leagues, and you got to start out the minors and you got to grind it out and you got to earn your right to move up in levels. And yeah, we had some long bus trips. We had a couple there this year that were, I think we had one that was 27 hours long, and then another one that was 23 hours. And it's a lot of time on the bus, and you roll in, and yeah, it's not the Ritz-Carlton with chocolates waiting on your pillow when you get to your room. Most of the time sometimes you're afraid to even crawl into your bed for fear of what might be living in there. But like I said, it is what it is. It's a great reality check, and in my eyes, it should keep all players hungry to get to the next level where things, as you move up, everything gets better.
Of course, it's very true. And you mentioned how it's not the Ritz Carlton, it's not those swanky hotels. I mean, when you're on a team bus like that, I'm sure when you're in the minors, you found ways to keep busy. You're younger, but when you're pushing 40 years old, like me, what do you do on the bus for that long on a 23-hour trip, Jamie?
Well, when I'm done crying about being there, I usually, as a coach, there's always stuff to do, and carrying the general manager tag. This year for me too, there was always stuff to do, paperwork, and lots of things on my computer that I had to do. And then I watched a tremendous amount of video and really learned how to cut video and mark video properly. And for me, I took advantage of that extra time to really kind of to polish up everything I had to do to get to the next level and learn how to do things. And I asked a lot of questions from current NHL coaches, and I'm not too proud to pick up the phone and call guys and ask them how to do something or learn. And I tried to take advantage of that extra time to get better.
You're an affiliate of the St. Louis Blues. I mean, there are teams in the minor leagues who don't have an NHL affiliation. I'm sure that's tough. But I mean, how great was it to have the Blues on your side? Because I'm sure, I've seen on Twitter, you talking to Ken Hitchcock, Wayne Gretzky, Brett Hull. I mean, just having people who are in the NHL who have NHL experience on different levels. I mean, that's gotta be great just to learn stuff all the time, Jamie.
Yeah, well, it's great. The affiliation this year, we inked the deal, so to say, after the season had started. I think a week after the season had started, and this year was basically probably more of just the Blues supporting me and supporting the team. I knew there wouldn't be very many player transactions as far as moving guys in and out of the American League and things like that, but it was an honor to have them sign off on it and to agree to be a part of it and things like that. So it was great, and my relationship with Doug Armstrong and the ownership and the coaches of St. Louis has developed pretty good over the last couple of years, and to me it was just one more step in the right direction to where they were recognizing me and some hard work and getting behind it and supporting it.
Switching for a second to, the big club, St. Louis Blues. I mean, this is a team that has impressed me so much. I mean, just a few seasons ago, St. Louis wasn't exactly a team you'd watch, but now they're one of the elite teams in the entire league. I mean, do you believe, Jamie, that the road to the Cup Finals probably leads through St. Louis right now?
Well, you know what? I'd be foolish not to say that yes, I think it does, because, we really have to stop and it's got to be hats off to Doug Armstrong and Ken Hitchcock and all the coaching staff with the Blues, because, Doug Armstrong, as a general manager, has managed to do something that a lot of teams haven't managed to do, and that is take their talent and their youth when they're young, develop them, and a lot of those guys spent time in the minors and came up, and now they're all maturing at the same time, which is rare, because a lot of times by the time you get everybody maturing, you've had one or two guys that have had standout seasons and they want outrageous contracts, and you have to deal them, and you don't get to hang on your talent a lot of the time. And Doug has done a fantastic job of keeping all these guys in check as far as egos or personal plans, things like that. They've all managed to sign very manageable contracts and keep them under the cap. And it's afforded him the luxury of going out and getting a Ryan Miller and a Steve Ott and really building that team that they think can take a run at the Stanley Cup. So between the coaches doing a fantastic job and Doug Armstrong providing them with the best lineup he can, I mean, I think right now it's a deadly mix for them.
This team right now, I look at St. Louis and I look at their offense. I mean, this is a team that, I don't know, many people thought at the start of the year that Alex Steen would be leading this team in scoring, but I'm sure people thought that TJ Oshie would be up there, and of course, David Backes, his leadership. What have you thought of Backes' leadership? Because he's a guy, he can score, he can hit. I mean, he's probably the best choice they have to be a captain. I mean, and I was skeptical, Jamie, when I saw that they traded away Chris Stewart. I thought that would have put them in some trouble, but it didn't. Chris Stewart's in Buffalo now, and they got back Steve Ott, and he's a veteran guy who knows what it's like to battle in the playoffs.
Well, I think, what happened with Stewie here in St. Louis was, he got put in more of a role of a role player, a grinder, where they wanted him to get in the corners and grind it out and battle in the front and finish hits. And it's not that Stewie wasn't willing to do that, because he was, but, Stewie had scored 40 goals in this league before, and I think that he thought of himself as a higher guy on the depth chart. I think that where the difference of opinion, caused maybe friction between the coaching staff and Stewie. And, by moving him to Buffalo and getting Steve Ott back, well, you've got the player that you want now in that role who embraces that role and gives you everything he's got as a sandpaper guy in the lineup for your team. And, it's just, I think that they've managed to do a great job of having great talent. And, I would tell my team this year when I was cutting video, there'd be clips from Blues games, and I show Alex Steen and TJ Oshie and all these guys, the top scorers on the team, finishing hits and blocking shots and back-checking all the way back to their net. And things like that is, I think Hitchcock has done a fantastic job of pulling every ounce of effort out of these players. And, when you get that effort mixed with the talent that they've got, like I said before, it's a deadly combination. They're a team that's going to be making some noise this year.
No, they absolutely will be. I know they've had some injury problems. I know one guy he's banged up right now, but he's impressed me so much. So Vladimir Tarasenko, I mean, his second year in the league, his first full year, because he played in the lockout year, 64 games played, 21 goals. I mean, this kid is outstanding for St. Louis right now, Jamie.
Yeah, you know what? It's unbelievable to see what they've managed to do with him, and it's great to see the way he's adjusted his game to play in the NHL. I mean, when Tarasenko first came in, he had some success very quickly, and then after that, he kind of, he got hit, and he got a concussion, and he started to shy away from some of the danger areas where you have to go to score goals in the NHL these days. And they kind of retooled him and worked with him and stayed patient, and you see the results this year. The guy is playing great. He's playing the NHL style game where it's straight lines up the ice and back down the ice. He going to the net and getting to the dirty areas, and then playing in the high slot where they have the shooter area, and he's capitalizing on that. And the effort's there, and the dedication is there, and the team put him on a great line, and you see the success he's having, and then you couple that with all the other guys that are having great years, and you got a guy like Vladdy Sobotka, who is, one of the best all-around players for their team, and, he's chipping in with offense, and he's a heck of a player, and it seems like whenever the Blues have run into an injury problem, they have somebody else waiting in the wings that, not can do the same job, but at least pick up the slack and add an element to the game that keeps them successful.
That's right. Who do you think is the biggest threat right now in the Western Conference to the Blues possibly advancing to the Cup Finals in your mind? Is it Chicago, do you think?
Well, I think you have to go with that. I mean, They have a fantastic team. They're another team that's done a great job of developing from within, and they won the Cup a couple of years ago. Yeah. So, a lot of those guys are still very, very dangerous, and they remember that feeling of winning it. And, it's once you get a taste of winning that Cup, it changes you forever. And guys will want to say that the next time they get there, they want it even more because they remember that taste of the Cup, and drinking champagne out of it and they won it over and over and over again. And so I think that makes Chicago an extremely dangerous team. They've been there, done that. The LA Kings are a dangerous team.
No, it's true. Yeah.
Heavy, strong team. And, they've tasted the champagne out of the cup very recently, too. So they're dangerous. And, another team that I wouldn't cross off the list is San Jose. I watched them play, and they play a big, strong, big man's game with lots of speed, and they get to the net and they crash. And they have lots of speed, and their barn is a very difficult place to play in. So, in my eyes, Chicago, LA, San Jose, and St. Louis, those are teams that, they're going to battle head-to-head. And it can almost be a bad thing, because by the time a team makes it to the Stanley Cup Final from the Western Conference, they might be beaten down to where they have not much left to go.
No, exactly. It's a very good point, very valid point. And Jamie, man, as always, it's a blast talking to you, dude. Unfortunately, Matt couldn't make it, but I know next year we're trying to figure it out. I'm not sure when. Hopefully, I don't know, maybe NHL next year will grant you guys Coors Light Stadium Series games. We can come down and watch you old farts playing the Legends game next year, if it happens, if the NHL decides to do you guys a game in St. Louis.
Yeah, it'd be great. And make sure you say hi to Matt for me. Tell him I missed him on the radio today, and we'll catch up soon.
Nice. Sounds good, Jamie.
All right, thanks a lot, Avery. Take care, bud.
All right, man. Talk to you soon.